Dynamics of the woodworking room, the smell of the wood, the atmosphere of the people working, creating things from recycled wood is just, you think, this is good. This is really good.
Talk to, like the people in the woodwork group, like Neil and Duke and Minder, and you just sort of talk about, how your week's been.
And another aspect is actually the making of things. I made quite a lot of toys for all my kids, and it's good.
Finish off yeah? Where is it? There it is.
912.
That makes sense? Do you want to go with my numbers?
What I found is that there needs to be an equal weight given to the physical therapy, but also to being able to just lose yourself and not think of how many steps I can take today, or just think of relaxing, just letting your mind go blank and just focusing on something totally different.
Of course, there are different people who have different levels of dexterity that can't hold a saw or can't use a hammer, but in woodworking here they found ingenious ways of adapting the tools that we've got here to make it easier to use if you do have those type of impediments.
For me, it reminds me very much of my work environment before I had the stroke. So being here with other patients and volunteers, it is a little bit like having colleagues again.
And then everything else. Didn't we get a flat piece of timber across there and tie it under the end?
And I actually came from the Austin Hospital, the spinal wing, and had 3 months of rehabilitation before I left the hospital system and went into private accommodation. It's an interesting thing what I see as the difference between the hospital and the rehab hospital. When I was in the hospital, I actually saw that the professionals of the hospital, the nurses and the doctors, were responsible for my well-being. When I came to the rehab hospital, I felt that had changed, and I was then taking responsibility for my recovery.
Push this in. Okay. Just split it by that much, and we wanted. No, I think it'll be okay. I think we need to have all that material to actually get a proper grip. We need to put 1, 2, 3 screws, 4 screws, that shuffle up.
But you've already got screws here, so you're just going to make sure there's 2 screws already on the top.
It was a motorcycle accident. I was a very, very sedate driver, and it happened on a mountain road. And what actually happened was that I was leaning the bike over and a big insect came into my helmet and landed on my eye and blinded me. And I came off the bike and I hit a road sign, and the road sign cut my spinal cord.
It was 10:30 at night, and I sort of said to her, look, do you mind just taking me to the hospital? And she goes, yep, what's wrong? She goes, I said, no, it's okay, look, I'm probably just overreacting, but I'm finding it really difficult to walk. So as soon as I got off the phone with her, I managed to get to the front door and opened and went back to my bedroom. She only lives 2 minutes away by car, and while she's driving down, her husband's ringing me up saying, look, I'll call an ambulance. And I'm thinking, no, it's all right, don't worry, John, it'll be fine. And she comes down and to my place, and she had to help me into the car, and by the time we got to the hospital, which is, you know, from Alphington, I live in Alphington, to, you know, Heidelberg, not far, you know, she needed a wheelchair to get me in because I, you know, within that space of half an hour, I'd basically lost the ability to walk. They call it transverse myelitis, which is basically inflammation of the spinal cord.
What happened to me was that I had a stroke about 3 years ago. So I actually had a blood clot that, or a clot that blocked one of the arteries to the brain, and I was rushed to the Box Hill Hospital, where they discovered after a CT scan that I had a clot. I had a clot buster after that dissolved the clot, and I felt all good again. And then soon after that I had another stroke, but this time the whole artery collapsed, and that was much more serious. So unfortunately, like, yeah, that left me hemiplegic on one side and vision impaired.
The injury, I think of the injury on a daily, if not hourly basis. It's one of the big things I've discovered about the injury is pain management. The pain's always there, it's just that how you respond to the pain and what priority you give it. I've learned that if I let the pain override me, it can really pull you down, so I just don't let it. I occupy myself now and distract myself from the pain.
And I actually felt like that I was really happy that it happened to me and not to my, not to one of my children or my wife, for example. I think I would have found that much more difficult to deal with. And another thing is that that had you told me like say 4 years ago that I would end up in a wheelchair, I'm not so sure how I would have dealt with that. I think that would have been devastating, but
I think what I've managed to do now is, rather than get depressed, I think you don't start off depressed, you start being very frustrated, and then that leads to depression, is being able to identify the frustration and then divert your energy away from being depressed.
no, it's no. No, depression is not part of my life anymore. I think, like as I said, I was pretty depressed while I was here at the Talbot for a while. But at a certain moment I just thought, like, I just have to go on, you know, like I've got a family, my children, yeah, you just want to be there for them.
Somebody's phone's going.
This is what really amazed me about the whole thing about having an accident. There were people that didn't want to say anything because they thought they would offend me, so they didn't come and see me, right? And 2, 3, 4 months went by. And then they were so embarrassed they didn't come and see me over 3 months that they thought that I thought that they didn't care, right? They're the hard nuts to crack, really, because I've got to go out and suss them out. And I've got to be very careful then, because I used to ring them up and say, oh, it's Kim, and just ring up to see how you are. And they say, oh, I'm so embarrassed, I didn't ring you. You know, I said, I know. Well, don't worry about it. I'm ringing you. I'm ringing you up to say I'm okay, right? And I understand, you know, if you didn't come in, but I just wanted to make sure that you understand that I'm okay and it's cool between us. And that really can be, rather than a dissolving a friendship, can actually be a great cementing tool. You know, it brings them in because they think, well, he cares, he's got the problem, I should have done something, he's taken the first step, and it actually can lead to nurture a relationship, I reckon. There's been quite a few like that for me.
I think I touched on it beforehand, where people sometimes feel totally helpless because they want to do things, they want to help you, but they don't know how. And because you don't want them to feel bad, you tend to pick yourself up and carry on and sort of say, you know, look, I'm fine, you know, don't worry about it.
I think that was a big change for me, because you have to reconnect with your wife and with your children. Obviously, you are a different man from who you were before, and it's not always so easy to reconnect with your family. But some are easier than others. Like with my little boy, it's very easy. I can spend much more time with him, like going to the skate park and doing other fun activities. With my eldest daughter, like it's a bit more difficult. Yeah, it's just you need to reconnect with them, and it's not always easy. Like for example, if they are not listening to you, that was one of these things. I would pick the children up and, like for example, put them in a naughty corner. Well, I can't pick them up anymore. I don't have the physical strength to do that. So you need to find other ways to deal with these things. But there's like all kind of help out there, people that are very happy to help you to go with these things in a different way. Maybe a much more healthier way anyway. And it's the same basically with your relationship with your wife. Yeah, you just have to, because of course your wife, she didn't ask. It was not her choice to marry a man with a disability. It's just something that happened. Just as it wasn't my choice to get a disability, of course, but. Yeah, what can you do? You just you have to get on and make the best of it. Yeah, I would like to say that to her as well, but saying that is one thing, and then doing is another thing, of course.
All the way down there. See how it makes it nice and even? Right, I'll come down this end here. There's a bit to finish off down there, yeah? Can you do that bit? Yeah. Just roll that backwards and forwards across.
I've got such high expectations for myself and for my work that I find it really frustrating, the fact that I can't do what I was previously doing to the same level, I guess. So I think, you know, sometimes it's, you know, difficult for people to really know what you're going through. So yeah, that's a challenge.
Yeah, I returned to work. I ran my own business. I've re-established a lot of my clients, because I've been probably now nearly 2.5, 3 years out of service. They're really thinking, well, you can't do what you did before, but hey, it's what can you do now? So really what it's doing is giving me an opportunity to diverse.
Things of surviving a stroke is that you not only have to deal with your disabilities, but you also need a lot of money to, like for example, to modify your house or to buy equipment like wheelchairs, etc. Just at a time that you don't have an income from your job anymore. So that was very hard to get used to. So, like, of course, you get a disability pension from Centrelink, but that was way less than what I earned before as a mechanical engineer. So after, like, we got some money from family and from friends and stuff, but after a while we found out that it was not sustainable to stay in a house that we were living in before, so we had to sell our house and downsize. Well, this is an unfortunate thing, but like, yeah, well, what can you do? You just, I mean, you just have to make the best of what you've got. So if you have to live in a smaller house, so be it. You live in a smaller house. We organized working bees, and all our friends came to help out at these working bees. That was really incredible. I think more than half of the house was actually built by my friends, believe it or not. Really, really fantastic, and heartwarming to see all these people helping and. It's a bit of a shame that you need to get a bad accident to find out that you're surrounded by all such nice people, but I suppose that is the way it is.
See how you're pushing on one side? Try and let the roller just sit flat on the job, and you'll end up with a nice finish. Stretch all the way. That's it. Now, next one. All the way. Good.
I think the reason why I'm positive is because, you know, I've had and I still have the support of family and friends. That makes me be positive.
I think I've become more community minded. I was very self-driven before with my wife and my business and everything else. It was very focused around that. I now see that I've got an opportunity in a bigger realm to help others.
Yeah, what motivates me to keep going and keep learning, well, yeah, it's definitely the family, my children, my wife, but also, like, you just want to make, you want to get as good as you can get, and it might then be not as good as what you would have been without the accident, but yeah, still the best as you can get.
well, I definitely surprise myself, and I think that that when something happens, you perhaps you expect to react in a different in a certain way, and then when it actually happens, you find that you know there's an inner strength. Now, where that inner strength comes from, I don't know. That's not to say that there aren't challenges and that there won't always be some form of challenges, but yeah.
I've come to almost the feeling that this is like a test for me. There's a challenge for me, and I like challenges. Right? This is challenging me to retain my dignity, retain my sense of spirit, to retain my humour.
That you become aware of a whole other side of your life that you were not aware of before that.
And then the other thing is just to take pleasure in what you can do, because there's always something that you can do.
My greatest achievement is getting on with life, I think.